Hi, this is Aditya and welcome to Shankar Mark Tech channel. This channel has crossed 1000 subscribers mark and I would like to thank you all for supporting me, and it is very happy to see our community growing. Many of you have asked me to take some real world example and explain what is resource resolver, resource, etc. in AEM. So that is what we are going to do in this particular video. I am going to take one mostly used real world example and explain each process step by step as to how I am solving that particular business problem. Okay, so in process we'll understand what is the resource, what is resource resolver, and all the technical details also. This video is part of AEM tutorials for beginners playlist. If you are liking the videos which I am doing, please hit on that like button and please subscribe to my channel. Let's get started with the presentation. Whenever we get into a project and whenever we take some requirement, we will be given a Figma link like this and a Figma design like this. So it could be Figma or Zeppelin. So some mockup will be given for us and this is what we have to achieve. Okay, so in this case, this is the article list component. Okay, so there we need to show some list of articles. Okay, and whenever we click on this explore, it will go into the article detail page where all the article content will be written. Okay, so here we are just listing down all the articles which are available. Okay, so and this is called as cards layout. Okay, so this is one card, this is another card, and this is another card. Like this there could be multiple cards. Okay, and each card will represent one article, and when we click on this explore button, it will go to the article detail page. Okay, so this is called as article list component. Okay, so let us suppose we have to develop this component. Then how do we develop this and what is the step-by-step process which we need to follow? That is what I am going to show in this particular video now. So the first thing which we need to do is understanding the requirement. Okay, so that is the first phase, requirement analysis. Okay, so what do we do as part of this phase? Okay, we need to observe this mockup which is given to us, and we need to understand what is this and from where exactly this content is coming. Like for example, here we see something called as rice plantation, right? And we see some description. And here we see family picnic and some description. Here some flower garden and description. Now the question we need to ask is, from where exactly you are getting this content, rice plantation? Are you getting it from the page? Or are you getting it from some experience fragment, from content fragment? So from where exactly this content is located, and from where you need to fetch this and display it here? That you need to understand. Okay, who can tell this? You need to discuss with your architects or with your business team to understand what is the business requirement, like where exactly this content is authored, and from where you need to pull those content and display it as a list here. Okay, so that is the first thing which we need to understand. Okay, and let us suppose we have asked this question to our architects, and let us suppose we have got this answer. Okay, so now let's say our architects are explaining us what is the site structure. So if you go to this weekend sites project, and if you go into US and EN, so you have something called as articles page, right? In this articles page, there are all these articles. Okay, so where exactly all these articles are residing is in this particular page. Okay, this is the path. Under contents weekend US EN articles, there will be an article list. Okay, so now what we need to do is, let us suppose we need to display all this list of articles on home page. Okay, so this is the home page, EN page, right? So if I just go into this home page, so on this home page, what we need to do is, we should be able to add one component which is called as article list. Okay, and once we add that component, what it should list is all the articles which are available in this particular path, which is content weekend US EN articles. All these articles which are available under this path should be displayed as a list here, and the look and feel of that particular list should be like this, as in cards format. Now it's clear for me till this point that I will have to display this list of articles, but my second question is, this title which I am showing, rice plantation, from where exactly that title is being displayed, and this description, from where exactly we are getting that description. Okay, so that's my second question. So then what architect will say is, if you just open these properties, okay, so let's suppose this is what architect is saying. You just open these properties and you see the title here, right, rice plantation. So this is the title which you need to display here. Let us suppose that is what he told me. Okay, and if you scroll down here, you have the description here. Okay, so this description must be displayed here. Okay, so that's what he is telling me. And once you click on this explore, what needs to happen is it should actually open this particular page. Okay, so if I just go back, on click of this explore, it should actually open this particular page. Okay, that's what, let us suppose, the requirement is. Okay, so first thing is I need to display this as a list. Okay, so for that I need to create a component, and then each of these, whatever we are displaying in this list, from where exactly we are retrieving this, that also we know. We are retrieving it from the page properties, and once we click on the explore, it should actually go on to that particular page, article page. So now until this point the requirement is clear. Okay, so now I will have to come up with the logic as to how exactly I am going to achieve this particular business requirement. Okay, so what is the process for that? That's what we are going to see now. So to achieve that, I will break down the entire requirement into an algorithm, like what exactly I need to do. Okay, so how exactly I can achieve this particular requirement? What is the logic for that? So I'll have to break down that logic, and I'll have to note down all these points. So we haven't started anything related to AEM till now. All this is general logical thinking and general critical thinking. Okay, so that's what we are going to do now. Okay, so the first thing what I need is, what is the root path in which all my articles are residing? That I need to get it from somewhere, right? For example, if you see here, okay, so our where is all our articles residing? It is residing on this particular path, right? Content, weekend, USEN articles. Okay, so if I know this root path, then I can get the list of all the articles which are there in that particular path. But how do I get this root path? So that is the first problem which I need to solve, right? And then the second problem is I need to query. Okay, I need to query actually in the database and fetch what all articles are there as part of that particular root path. So that's the second problem I need to solve. How do I query all these articles? How do I query the database, get all the list of the articles and put it in some variable? Okay, so that's the second thing which I need to solve. So then the third thing which I need to solve is, let us suppose I got somehow the list of all the articles. Then how do I go into these page properties, and how do I get those title and description from that particular page properties? That is the third thing which I want to solve, right? And once these three things are solved, then the fourth thing is, how do I render? Like now I have queried the list of all the articles. I went to the page properties, I got that title and description. Okay, so now I need to render it in the UI. So what are the exact steps to be able to render that in the UI? So this problem, so this business requirement, in order to solve this, we need to address 4 problems. Okay, so what are each problems which we need to address? So that we need to prepare a list, and we need to solve each problem one by one, and that will lead us to the solution ultimately, which is the completion of this business requirement. It is as simple as that. Okay, so how well you are able to document the list of the problems you need to solve in order to achieve a business requirement is what is going to help you to excel in your job. Okay, so the first thing you need to practice is this. So how do we get this root path? Again, this question we need to ask your architect, okay, or your lead if you are a developer. Okay, so generally what we do is we will accept this root path as a dialog box property. We will give the ability for the author to choose what is the root path, because this root path will change from environment to environment, right? And author can put it in one path or different path. So this path is variable. Okay, only author knows where exactly he is putting all these articles, right? So it's better to ask author itself to author that particular variable in the dialog box as to what is the root path in which all your articles are residing. And all you need to do is get into that particular dialog box and get what is the root path, and based on that you run your logic to display the list of all the articles in that article list component. So now we have got the answer for this first problem, which is how to get what is that root path? We will ask the author. So first thing which we need to do is we need to create a component, and we need to create a dialog box, and in that dialog box we need to give the ability for the authors to pick the root path. That is the first thing which we need to do. Okay, so now let's see how exactly we are going to do that. Okay, so let me go to CRXDE. So for creating the new component, what I generally do is I will go to the existing core components. Okay, in libs WCM components. So this is where all the core components are available. So I'll take one of the components and copy and paste it into my project folder. Okay, so this is the simplest way you can create a component. So where is my project folder? It is in apps weekend. So I'll go into this components, and then here I will paste this component. So this is the first step which I'll do. Okay, so then the second step is I'll rename this. Whatever I have copied, I'll rename it to article list. So this is my component name, right? So I'll rename the component to article list component. Okay, so then the third step which I need to do is I need to go into the dialog box, and I'll keep only one dialog box field, and I'll remove all other dialog box fields. Okay, so this is what I have done. So these are the ultimate fields, right, which will be displayed on the dialog box. So this in depth I have covered already how to create the dialog box in a different video. If you haven't seen that, please watch it out. Okay, so I will remove all the unnecessary dialog box fields here, and I'll keep only one which is necessary. So then next thing which I need to do is I will have to put proper component group. Okay, so let's see, let's take the existing component group. Okay, so this is the existing component group for my project. So I will paste the component group, and I will change the description as article list, and then I'll come to the title, and I'll change this title also to article list. Okay, so all these changes I have done. Then the third thing I need to do is, after all this, I need to rename this HTML file, because Sling will come and try to find for this article list.html. Okay, so I will say article list.html, right? So the name of this node and this HTML file must be same in order for this file to be picked. So I renamed it to the article list. So in order to test if my component is working or not, I'll put some h1 here. Okay, and I'll say this is article list component, and I'll close the h1 here. Okay, let's test this point until this point whether it is working or not. Okay, so always test it part by part so that you get an early feedback whether whatever you have done is working or not. Okay, so let me refresh this existing page. So now if I just click on the plus button, and if I see here, I have the article list component, right? So I'll just add this article list component, and I got my h1 printed, which is this is article list component. Okay, so till now whatever I have done to create the component, right, till this point it is successful. Okay, so then the next thing which I want to do is I want to add a proper dialog box. Okay, so if I just open this particular dialog box, right, here I have the title which is a text field. Okay, so why is it appearing as a text field? Okay, so if I just go here into this title, and if I open this properties, see the Sling resource type of this particular title, right? This is the dialog box field. This particular title is a text field. So since this is mentioned as a text field, here in the dialog box also you see it as a text field. But what I wanted is not the text field. I wanted to give the author an ability to pick the path. Okay, so what I need here is path picker field. So for that, you can just go into AEM Granite UI. Okay, so the AEM Granite UI documentation, you can go into that. In this, it will list all the properties which you can use. All the Sling resource type properties which you can use will be listed as part of this documentation. So you just scroll down onto the form section, and you just go into the path field, right? and you see what is the Sling resource type you need to give if you want this layout. Okay, so you will just copy from the granite. Okay, always just ignore the absolute path which is ellipse. So copy from the granite and you just replace it here. Just save it. Okay, so now this has become path field. So now come back to our component, and if you just refresh this component, you just select it and open this. So now you see it as a path picker, right? So you can just open this dialog box, right? And you can select whatever path, exact path in which the articles are residing, right? So you can just scroll here and you can select, this is my, you can just make a selection here. Okay, so that's how you can configure the dialog box. But if you see here, the title, this label should change, right? The label title, it should come as article root path, right? That should be the label. So let's change the label of this. Okay, so this is the field label. So I'll say this is article root path, right? And also the name of it we should also change, because this is the name with which it is actually getting stored in the database. So what should be the name? It should be like article root path. Okay, so now I will save this. Okay, so now if I just refresh the UI and see how it appears, so here the label got changed, article root path, and I'll be able to pick the path, right? Now this title also must change, right? This is the tab and this is the tab title, so this also must change. So let's go into CRXDE again and let's see where exactly that title is there. So here it is. Okay, so this also will change it and we'll make it article list, right? And then save it. Okay, so if you just go back here and if you just refresh this, yeah, so this is looking good. So till now what we have done is we were able to allow the authors to select what is the root path in which the articles are residing. So now he will just select these things. Okay, he'll go to VN and select this path and select it and click on done. Okay, so then this will get saved somewhere, right? Whatever path we have selected, that is getting saved somewhere. So we have already seen this in depth in our previous videos as to where exactly it gets saved, right? It gets saved on the page itself. So if I just go to that page path and if I just go to the JCR content root container, and if I open the container, here is my article list component, and on this article list component you see something called as article root path, and the value is whatever value which author has selected. So this is where it is getting saved. Okay, so now if I see our logic, right, the first problem is solved. We have created the dialog box and we have allowed the user to pick the article root path, and that article root path is saved somewhere, and this is from where we need to pick this path and do our rest of the logic. So till this point it is clear, right? So the first problem is solved. We can tick this, that this is solved. So now we have to go to the second problem, right? How do we get the list of article page, right? So for that you need to query in the database. Okay, so you need to see exactly what are these children. Okay, you need to actually go into this root, this articles path, and then you have to see what exactly the children are there here. Okay, so now we need to solve this problem, that we need to identify what are article pages are there as part of this root page. Okay, so to write all that logic, where do we write it? We obviously cannot do it using just HTML, because we have to query the database, get the properties, and so much logic is going on, right? So we need to create a Sling model for this. So we need to actually create a Java class. Okay, in that Java class we are going to write all this logic to get the children of a particular root path. Okay, so that's what we are going to do now. Create a model. Okay, so before creating model, what we need to do is all that we have done, the creation of this component, right? We have done it as part of CRXDE directly. Okay, so now this is our code base which is there here, right, in our IntelliJ. Okay, I have just downloaded this weekend path. Okay, if you don't know how to do this, I have created a video on how exactly you need to do a Maven build and all that in detail. You can check that particular video. Okay, so you will have to have this code base. Okay, and in this code base you will have to put this component also. Okay, till now we have directly created this in the CRXDE, right? So if you just keep it like this, and if you do another build from here, since it is not there as part of your code base, it will get overwritten. So what you need to do is, first you need to put this component also as part of your code base, and whenever you build your code base, then automatically this also will get updated. Okay, so for that what we need to do is, we need to export this particular component. So we need to package it and export it. So how do you create a package? You just come to this package manager and create a package. So you just say it is article list component, and then you just edit it, and in the filters you will just give this path. Okay, the path in which this actual article component is residing. Okay, you save it and build this. So once you build it, it will export everything as part of this particular page path. Okay, it exported. So now you download it. So whatever you have downloaded, you will just extract this particular component. Okay, so you just go and extract this. Okay, if you go to the JCR root, and if you go to apps, weekend, components, you will see your component. So all you need to do is, now you need to copy this component. Okay, just copy it, and you need to paste it. Where do you need to paste it? Inside app weekend components. So you need to go into your code base. You will have to go to UI apps. So this is where all the components are residing in your code base. So go to UI apps, src, main, and content, JCR root, and in this JCR root you will have your project folder, and in this project folder you have components, and in this component there are list of components, and this is where you need to copy your component. Okay, and just click on OK. So now your article list component is added as part of your code base. So if you just open this article list component, so you can open your HTML, and this is what it is. Okay, and if you, whatever dialog box you have written, right, or you have created, it will be like this as an XML. Okay, in your code base. Okay, so this is what you have given, right, article root path, and what is this path field. Okay, so all this will be mentioned as an XML. Okay, so from here on, whatever changes which we do, we will do directly in the code base, and we will build the code base, and that build will go into this AEM, and we will actually see our changes running in the AEM. Okay, so till now we have created the component and added it into the code base. Now what we need to do is, we need to create the model for this. So how do we create a model? Okay, so to create a Sling model, what we need to do is, we need to go into core. Okay, so the components will be there in UI.apps, but the Sling model will reside in the core folder. Okay, so this is just a project structure. Okay, so this is, since you have installed the Maven archetype of AEM, right? So this is the project structure which is created as part of the best practices. Okay, so the same project structure we will follow. Any Java classes will be there as part of the core, and any UI components will be there as part of the UI.apps. So this is the standard in AEM. Okay, so now what we'll go do is, we'll open these models and we'll create a new model here. So we'll create the name as article list model. Okay, so this is the standard practice that any model will end with model, and since this is article list component, I have given the name as article list model. So to make Sling understand that this is a Sling model, right, we need to put this particular annotation. Okay, so this is nothing but a @model annotation. Just by giving that @model annotation, Sling will know that this is a Sling model. Okay, so that is what Sling will know. Okay, and I'll just import all this resource and all other classes. So it is a Sling resource, so I'll select this, and this also I'll import. Okay, so then what is this adaptable? So this in detail I have explained in my previous video, the link for which I'll give it out in the description box. You can check it out. What is adaptable and what are adaptable patterns I have explained in depth. Each and every line of the Sling model I have explained in that video. You can refer that particular video, but here I'll just give an overview. So what we are trying to do is, we are doing a Sling model, right? So we are saying that it is an adaptable, and we are giving that it is a resource. Now what is this resource? So to understand this, we need to understand the entire flow. Okay, so here is our page, right? And here we have added our component. So now the question is, how does the Sling know that this component is added on that particular page and it has to render this particular component? So now what will Sling do is, it will go into this particular page, okay, and it will see, it will go into this particular page, okay, it will open this root and container and see what all components are there. It will go to this component and then it will open the properties and see what is the Sling resource type, right? And then it will go into this path where the code is there. Okay, so this is where the code is existing, right? So this is the actual path, and this is where article list.html is existing. And here what we'll do is, we'll use the model. Okay, we'll say data slide use and use the model. Okay, so then the flow comes into the model. Okay, so now what is this resource? This resource is nothing but this content path, because from this is where the flow started, right? So this is the resource, this is the component, so this is the resource. Okay, this is the component and this is the resource reference which is being passed here. Okay, so this is what we are adapting. Okay, so now what we are doing is, here a inject, we need to inject. And what are we going to inject? Okay, it is private. First we will give private string. We are going to inject a string. And what is that string? That string is nothing but this article root path, right? So whatever property name you want to inject, you will copy that property name and then you will exactly give the same name here. So now what we are effectively doing is, we said adaptable resource. Now what is the reference that is being passed here? The reference which is being passed is this component, right? And we are saying from that component inject this particular property. Okay, so now everything Sling will take care. It will inject this particular property value into this variable path. Okay, into this variable. So whatever you are seeing the value here, content weekend US AN articles, that will come into this article root path. It is because we have the reference of this resource, and then you said inject by using inject annotation. Okay, so now you have that. So now all we need to do is, we need to create a method. Okay, since this is your private string, right? So you cannot access this variable outside this class. So if you have to access this variable outside this class, you need to create a public, okay, public method. Okay, public string, and I'll say get article root path. Okay, so I'll create a method like this. And then I will use this method in the model. Okay, so now what I am trying to do is, I am trying to get this article root path and display it here in my page. Okay, so that's the second step I want to do. I want to access this article path and see whether it is coming in the UI or not. Okay, so for that what I'll do, I'm creating this method. Now I'll go to this HTML and I'll say slide data slide use model equal to, and I'll give this model path. Okay, so what is the package? I need to give this entire package path. Okay, and then I will have to give the class name. What is the class name? Article list model, right? I will say dot article list model. Okay, so now I am using this data slide model, data slide use, right? So this I have given, and Sling knows that it has to use this model, and then it comes onto this model. It will inject this resource. What is this resource? This component. Okay, it will inject on it will inject here, and and that component has this property here, which is article root path, and the property value author has given it. So that value is going to get injected here. So now what I need to do is I need to get this injected value. Okay, so how will I get this? So I will say dollar, and this is the general syntax, and I'll use the model. So this reference of this article model is there as in this variable now, which is model, and I'll say dot, and I will copy this function. I want to use this method, right? So I'll use this method, and I'll remove this get, and I'll rename this article as small. First letter should be small. Okay, so like this I can access the article root path. So all this I have explained in detail in my previous video. I'll give the reference in the link description. If you are new and if you are not understanding all this, first please watch that video, because you are expected to have a certain knowledge if you are watching this video. Okay, so now what happens is this reference, whatever value you have got here, you will get into this particular HTML. Okay, so now let's compile until here and see how this is going to work. So to compile this, what I am going to do is I am going to go into my repo. So this is where all my code is existing. So I'll open the command prompt from here, and I'll say mvn clean install. So if I install this, then this entire code whatever I've written will get packaged, and it will get deployed onto this AEM instance. Then I can test whether my code is working or not. I got some error. I think I have given the small. I should give small here. I gave caps. So that's why it errored out. Now it should work. Okay, so now build is successful. Let me go on to this particular component. Okay, so this is my code. Okay, so I'll just refresh this, and I'll open my HTML to see if my code got reflected or not. So my code got reflected. So whatever I have entered in my IntelliJ, it got reflected here. So now let me test this. Okay, so I'll just refresh this page and see whether that particular path, whatever I have printed, is coming or not. Okay, so I have printed in this HTML, right? So this, whatever I have printed here, that needs to come. Whether that is coming or not, let's see. Okay, so you see that the path is getting printed. So now let me change this dialog box path. So now here it is articles. So it is the same thing, but let me change this root path and see if that works or not. Okay, yeah, so it is working. So till now we have created the component, and we also have created a Sling model, and we understood why we need to create the Sling model, because we have much more logic to implement rather than just displaying the path on the UI, right? So till now we have just tested whether Sling model is working or not, or HTML is working or not, but the actual use case we haven't implemented it yet, right? So to implement that, what we need to do, we just as we are getting this article root path, right? What we need to do is we need to query for this article root path what are the list of the pages which are there as part of this root path. First we need to query it in the database, right? In our JCR repository, we need to query that. So to do that, we will use something called as query builder. Okay, so we will query that, and we'll get the list, and that list, from that list we need to get the properties, right? Page properties, what is the title, what is the description, that we need to get. So all that logic will go into this model. Okay, and finally, just as we are passing this article root path, we'll pass that entire list of values, like what is the title description, list of all these values. We'll pass it into the HTML, and we'll have to finally render it. Okay, so we'll stop this video for now. Okay, and how does that query builder work, and what all we need to know for in order to implement it, we'll see in our next video. Hope you are liking these videos. If you are really liking, please hit on that like button, please subscribe to my channel, and please do share this with your friends. Thank you.